Hey everyone, and welcome back to Speak More Fluently. You know we always like to bring you fresh ideas for leveling up your English, and today we're diving into something that might just make you rethink your downtime.
Yeah, we're talking about using those TV shows you're already binge watching and all those podcasts you can't get enough of and turning them into some pretty powerful language learning tools.
It's true. And by the end of this deep dive, I think you'll be pretty surprised at just how much you can boost your vocabulary, your listening comprehension, even your speaking confidence, all while being entertained.
Right. I mean, think about it. Most of us are already spending hours with this kind of content anyway, so why not make it work double duty for us?
Exactly. So let's get right into the why. Why is this such an effective way to learn? Well, when you're watching a TV show, for example, you're not just hearing words in isolation.
It's not like you're just memorizing vocabulary lists or something like that.
Right. You've got the visuals, you see the characters, their expressions, the whole context of what's happening. And that makes a world of difference.
Huge difference. It's like your brain's getting all these extra clues that help you understand the language more naturally and intuitively.
And that's what makes it stick. When you're learning in contexts like that, your brain makes these stronger connections. You remember things better.
Oh, for sure. Like, let's say you see a character on a show say, "I'm so over it," but they're rolling their eyes as they say it. You don't just learn the phrase itself. You learn the feeling behind it, the frustration.
Right, and you're way more likely to remember it and know how to use it yourself because you have that vivid memory of how it was used in that scene.
Absolutely. It's much more engaging too, right?
Oh, 100%. Let's be honest. Sometimes cracking open a textbook or studying grammar rules can feel a little like a chore.
Yeah, it can feel a bit dry.
But when you're absorbed in a show you actually enjoy or listening to a podcast that genuinely interests you, it doesn't feel like work at all. It's fun.
It's like learning becomes this natural byproduct of something you're already doing for pleasure.
That's it. And that shift in mindset can make all the difference.
And I think it also helps you stay consistent. If you're enjoying the process, you're more likely to stick with it.
Definitely. So let's get into some specific strategies, starting with TV shows. What are some tips for choosing the right kind of show? Because I know it can be tempting to just jump into whatever the latest hit series is, but maybe that's not always the best place to start.
Yeah, you want to find something that's engaging for sure, but also something that's at the right level for you.
What would you recommend?
Well, sitcoms can be a great starting point.
Well, yeah, sitcoms are classic.
They tend to use everyday language, relatable situations, and the sentence structures are often a bit simpler.
That makes sense.
And believe it or not, even some children's shows can be surprisingly helpful. The language is so clear and simple, it can actually be a great way to reinforce the basics.
I never thought of that, but it makes total sense.
And then, of course, the most important thing is to choose something you genuinely enjoy. Whether it's cooking shows or travel documentaries or true crime podcasts, whatever you're passionate about, find content that aligns with your interests.
Right. If you're interested in the topic, you're going to be so much more engaged and motivated to learn from it.
Exactly.
So let's say you found the perfect show. What are some active watching techniques you can use to really maximize your learning?
Okay, here's a great one. Subtitles.
Ah, subtitles. A classic.
But here's the trick. Don't just leave them on the whole time. Try a two-pass approach.
Two-pass. Okay, tell me more.
So first, watch an episode with the no subtitles on. It allows you to see the written form of the words at the same time you're hearing them. This helps you connect the sound and the spelling. Then watch it again without the subtitles and see how much you can understand just by listening.
That's a great way to challenge yourself. And I guess it also kind of forces you to pay attention more closely the second time around.
It does.
Okay, what about those times when you hit a part where the characters are speaking super fast, or maybe they're using an unfamiliar accent and you just can't quite catch what they're saying?
Oh, that's a common one. But don't worry. Most streaming platforms let you adjust the playback speed.
Oh, right. You can slow things down.
Yeah, try dropping it to like 0.75x speed.
Right.
It can make a huge difference in helping you pick out individual words and really follow the flow of speech. And if there's a particular line or short scene that's giving you trouble, just use the loop function. Play it over and over again for like 5 or 10 seconds until you feel like you've got it.
Oh, yeah, the good old repeat button. It's amazing what a difference that can make when you're trying to get your ear used to something.
It really can.
And I guess it's not just about listening and understanding. How do we actively work on remembering all this new vocabulary and grammar?
Well, taking notes is key. As you're watching, jot down any new words or phrases that catch your attention.
A good old pen and paper, or even just the Notes app on your phone, right?
Whatever works for you.
Mm.
But here's the thing, don't just write them down and forget about them. Transfer those notes into a digital flashcard app like Enki. It uses spaced repetition, which is a really effective way to help you memorize things.
Spaced repetition, yeah. It's all about reviewing things at specific intervals to really embed them in your memory.
Exactly. So those flashcard apps will remind you to practice the words at increasing intervals, which helps you move them from your short-term memory into your long-term memory.
Perfect. Now, we talked about understanding and remembering vocabulary, but what about actually speaking? Is there anything we can do while watching TV to improve our pronunciation and fluency?
There is. Shadowing is an amazing technique for this. It basically involves repeating what you hear as you're watching, trying to match the speaker's rhythm and intonation as closely as you can.
Oh, like trying to imitate their voice.
Sort of. You're not necessarily trying to do an impression, but you're trying to capture the way they speak, the rise and fall of their voice, the way they emphasize certain words.
I can see how that would be really helpful for getting a feel for the natural flow of English.
And it's great for your pronunciation because you're actually physically engaging with the sounds and training your mouth to make them.
Right. You're not just passively listening, you're actively practicing.
Exactly. And here's a bonus tip. If you really want to challenge yourself, try shadowing a specific accent. Maybe choose a British show and try to mimic the British accent, or an American show and practice American pronunciation.
Interesting. Now, before we move on to podcasts, any other tips for maximizing TV learning?
Well, even when you're not actively watching, you can still be passively absorbing language.
Ah, you mean like having English shows playing in the background while you're cooking or cleaning?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if you're not fully focused, your brain is still picking up on patterns and getting familiar with the sounds of English.
So it's kind of like soaking up the language osmotically.
Exactly. And if transcripts for the shows you're watching are available, try reading along. It's another great way to connect the spoken word with the written word and see how grammar structures are used in real conversations.
Awesome. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground with TV shows. Now let's turn our attention to podcasts. What are some of the unique advantages of using podcasts for language learning?
Well, with podcasts, you're really honing in on your listening skills. There are no visuals to rely on. It's all about understanding the spoken word. And there's such a wide variety of podcasts out there that you're bound to find something that matches your interests and your level.
Absolutely. So just like with TV shows, choosing the right podcast is key. What would you recommend for someone at an intermediate level of English?
A few great options come to mind. The BBC has a fantastic podcast called 6-Minute English.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, the episodes are short and focused, just as the name suggests, and they cover a wide range of topics. And what's really helpful is that they often provide transcripts and quizzes so you can really test your comprehension and vocabulary.
That's a great way to reinforce what you've learned. Any other recommendations for intermediate learners?
Podcasts in English is another excellent choice. They have even shorter episodes, some as short as just a couple of minutes, and they cover a wide range of everyday topics with really clear and concise language. They also provide supporting materials like transcripts and exercises.
Perfect. Now, what about for listeners who are already at a more advanced level?
For more advanced learners, I'd recommend checking out The English We Speak, also from the BBC.
I've heard of that one too. It's all about idioms and expressions, right?
Yeah, each week they focus on a specific idiom or expression, and they show you how it's used in natural conversation. It's a great way to expand your vocabulary and sound more fluent and natural when you speak.
That's awesome. And what about for those who really want to dive into the nitty-gritty of grammar and pronunciation and British culture?
Well, Luke's English podcast is a classic for that.
Oh, yeah. Luke's been doing it for years.
He has. It's one of the longest-running English learning podcasts out there. The episodes are longer, often over an hour, and they cover a really eclectic mix of topics. He talks about everything from grammar and pronunciation to British culture and current events.
It's a treasure trove of information.
It really is.
So you found a podcast that sounds interesting. How can you make sure you're listening actively and really absorbing the information? Because it can be easy to just zone out, especially when it's audio only.
Absolutely. Active listening is key. Try breaking the podcast down into smaller chunks. Maybe listen for just a minute or two. Then pause and try to summarize what you've just heard in your head or out loud.
Right. That forces you to really pay attention and process the information.
Exactly. And again, if transcripts are available, definitely take advantage of them. After you've listened to the podcast, read through the transcript and highlight any new vocabulary or idioms that you come across.
That's a good way to reinforce the learning and also see how the spoken language translates to the written word.
It is. And if you really want to challenge yourself, try dictation practice.
Dictation, like in school.
Yeah. Listen to a short segment of the podcast and try to write down exactly what you hear, word for word.
That sounds tough.
It can be challenging, but it's a fantastic way to train your ear to recognize different sounds and word combinations.
I bet it would really help you improve your spelling too.
Well, for sure.
And to really take it a step further and practice your speaking skills, try summarizing the main points of the episode aloud after you've listened.
Yeah, or try having a conversation with a friend or a language partner about what you learned from the podcast.
Great ideas. Now, how can listeners incorporate podcasts into their daily routine in a way that feels seamless and enjoyable?
Think about those times in your day when you have a few minutes of downtime. Your commute, your workout, even while you're doing chores around the house. Those are all perfect opportunities to squeeze in a podcast.
Yeah, it's all about finding those pockets of time and making them productive.
Exactly, and make it a habit. Maybe choose a specific podcast that you listen to on your morning commute every day, or one that you listen to while you're at the gym.
And after you've finished an episode, try quizzing yourself on some of the key vocabulary or concepts you learned.
Right, or even just try to think of a few discussion questions based on the episode that you could talk about with a friend or in an online forum.
Speaking of online forums, don't forget about the power of community.
Yes, there are so many great online communities for English learners where you can connect with other people, discuss podcasts you've listened to, ask questions, get feedback on your speaking, and just generally support each other on your language learning journeys.
So we've talked about a lot of great strategies for both TV shows and podcasts. How can someone bring all of this together into a cohesive plan to really maximize their learning?
One approach is to alternate between the two media types. Maybe spend 1 week focusing on learning with TV shows and the next week focusing on podcasts.
That's a good way to keep things fresh and varied.
It is.
Yeah.
And another strategy is to try thematic learning. Choose a topic that you're interested in, maybe something like travel or food or technology, and then watch a TV show and listen to a podcast related to that theme.
So you're getting input from different sources on the same topic, which helps you build a deeper understanding and a richer vocabulary.
Precisely. And it's important to remember that different media types lend themselves to different skills. Generally speaking, podcasts are great for honing your listening comprehension, while TV shows, with the added visual context, can be particularly helpful for improving your pronunciation and intonation.
And both are fantastic for expanding your vocabulary and understanding grammar structures and context.
Absolutely.
You've even put together a sample 4-week plan to illustrate how someone could structure all of this. Can you give us a quick overview?
Sure. In week 1, you might focus on watching sitcoms with English subtitles and listening to 6-minute English. Aim to note down 10 to 15 new words or phrases each day and try shadowing a couple of short scenes from the shows you watch.
Okay, so that's your foundation week, getting used to the techniques.
Exactly. Then, in week 2, you could switch to watching a documentary series and listening to podcasts in English, focusing on dictation practice and reviewing your flashcards regularly.
So upping the challenge a bit.
Right. In week 3, you could watch a reality TV show and listen to The English We Speak, focusing on summarizing what you learn aloud, and maybe even joining an online discussion forum to practice writing and speaking about the topics you're encountering.
Wow, you're really hitting all the skills there.
And finally, in week 4, you could watch news reports and listen to Luke's English podcast with the goal of writing a short reflection on what you learn and recording a short audio summary of one of the episodes.
That sounds like a really comprehensive plan. Of course, it's just a starting point. People can adapt it to fit their own interests and goals.
Of course, the most important thing is to find a rhythm that works for you and to stick with it consistently.
Absolutely. So, what are some key things to keep in mind to stay motivated and make consistent progress with this approach?
Well, setting clear and specific goals is crucial. Don't just say, I want to improve my English. Be more specific. Say, I want to learn 10 new phrasal verbs this week from podcasts, or I want to be able to shadow a 30-second clip of my favorite show without any mistakes.
Right. Having those concrete targets makes a big difference.
And track your progress. Keep a language learning journal or use an app to log the episodes you've watched or listened to, the new vocabulary you've learned, and any milestones you achieve. Seeing your progress visually can be incredibly motivating.
It's like a little reward system for your brain.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to mix things up. Try different genres of TV shows and podcasts, experiment with different learning techniques, and find what works best for you.
Right, keep things interesting and engaging.
And most importantly, stay curious. If you encounter something you don't understand, take the initiative to look it up. If a particular topic sparks your interest, delve deeper into it by reading articles or watching other videos related to it.
So much great advice.
And it's all about making language learning a fun and integrated part of your life.
Absolutely. So the main takeaway here is that those TV shows and podcasts you're already enjoying can be incredible assets on your journey to speaking English more fluently.
Yes, it's all about making those hours you spend being entertained work for you.
So, to everyone listening to speak more fluently, we encourage you to start experimenting with these techniques today.
Pick a show or a podcast you love and see how you can turn it into a powerful learning tool.
And here's a final thought for you. What new show or podcast will you explore first to put these ideas into action and unlock a whole new level of confidence in your English speaking journey?
Happy learning.
Until next time.
See you then.